Welcome to The Favorites, the podcast presented by Bet365. We are part of the Volume Podcast Network. I am Chad Millman of the Action Network. I'm live from my Tommy John home studio, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, my companion, my compadre, my BFF professional bettor, Simon Hunter. Hello, Simon.
Chad, how we doing?
Dude, I got to share with you my past 17, 18, 20 hours because it's truly insane. Uh, I got a buddy. His name is Kenny Dichter. Kenny is a serial, brilliant, enthusiastic, force of nature entrepreneur who is hyper connected in sports, media, business. He started a company called Wheels Up, the private jet company, right? So I've gotten to know Kenny a little bit over the past couple of years. He's starting a new business called Real SLX, and it's all about taking his superpower, which is creating experiences and getting people involved in these once in a lifetime experience at really big events. The best experiences are the best experiences. And so, he did something at the Super Bowl last year with Rayo's, probably one of the best Super Bowl events I've ever been to. Simon, you and I are going to be doing stuff there this year at the Super Bowl. So he called me on Monday and he says, I got tickets to the Auburn Duke game Wednesday night, Auburn number 2, Duke number 9, Cooper flag, all that. We're going to fly down private Wednesday afternoon. We're going to have dinner. We're going to go to the game. We'll fly back that night. How do you say no to that, right? Like, what in a million years, when would I be like, yeah, I'm going to go down to Durham, North Carolina the day before a show and I'm going to, you know, fly private, go to dinner and come back that night. But of course I said yes. You can't not say yes to that. Dude, flew down, we land, we go to dinner, go to this place called Nana's in Durham, which was ridiculous. And then we were at the game. There were about 8 of us. Kenny had a bunch of tickets. And a bunch of guys that I know and like a lot. Some guys who I've met through Kenny, who work with Kenny, a buddy of mine named Lee Fitting, who I used to work with at ESPN. Now he runs content at WWE. The tickets were, no joke, first row baseline under the basket, like feet on the floor, talking to the ref during the breaks. My kid sending me pictures of him seeing me on TV because every time a team is scoring, the camera crosses my face. It was truly insane. And the game was off the hook. Like I've been to Cameron before. It's a incredible experience. I went to Duke UNC a couple years ago with my younger son, and it was loud and crazy. And the Cameron crazies really are truly insane. And it's a must do experience for sports fans. I was sitting next to this guy who's had these tickets for 30 years. He's a beer distributor who supplies Cameron and the football stadium. He was saying that that game last night was the loudest game he's ever heard. It was ear splitting how insane it was. Duke wins, great game. Get back on the plane at midnight. No, get back on the plane at 12:45. Land in Westchester at 2. Get home at 4 a.m. Now we're doing the show. It was it was once in a lifetime amazing.
Yeah, great game, cool night. I mean, it's a hell of a story.
It was so much fun. Uh, still flying a little bit. But you know what, Simon? No work, no perks. We got to get to work because we got a lot to do today. As a reminder, the Favorites podcast is presented by Bet365. And now, new Bet365 customers get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Sign up using promo code FAVORITE. Deposit $10, place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. Those bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, restrictions apply. As always, on Thursdays during the season, we do like to hear how the wise guys are responding to our Tuesday conversation. That's how influential we are. The lines are moving based on our conversations. The pros feel compelled to weigh in on our opinions. Simon, let's do sharp calls.
Yeah, let's start off with a Thursday game. Shock to no one, professionals like Green Bay. We've seen now that a couple books have moved it to 3, then they get hit by other professionals who bump it right back up to 3.5. So it's obviously a game that's split, but so far to me, it seems like it's more so every pro I talk to likes this Green Bay side for exactly what we've talked about. So unfortunately, it's another Thursday we love, and I feel like we're going to nail. Can't put in the contest. So just another good line, though. It's a 3.5. I still think that's the key there. Let's go to a game that you loved, I loved, and now we've seen this number move a ton, right? This Minnesota game. Every guy I talk to, for good reason, likes the Vikings for what we really talked about, right? It's a bad matchup for Kirk and that offense. We've seen now, too, Sam Darnold, as bad as he was, right, for those couple week stretches, he's kind of gotten a little bit of a groove. Yeah. I mean, he seems like he's comfortable again. So not shocking that number Utah gave it out, I think, at 5. It's now up to 6 at a lot of books. So that's a game we'll definitely most likely end up with a contest. The game that really jumped out to me was just because we were at the timer on the other side was that Chiefs game. Every pro I talk to right now really likes the Chiefs side. It's looking more and more like the Chargers is kind of the Joe Public side, which isn't that shocking. Right now, me and you are on the public side and that Bears side. Most pros I talk to have our view of it, where this is a spot to take this 49ers team. So interested to hear your view on this game now that we're a couple days later. Another one that we knew the pros would be on, the Jets. Mean Chad, I don't think it changes my opinion. I still like Miami. I think they're just keep on chasing that same thing with this Jets team every week.
Dude, I got so many. I can't wait to talk about that game.
And then, obviously, a game I love. The professionals, though, are pretty split on it, that Cleveland Brown-Pittsburgh game. And there's still a one book in Jersey here that has a 7, which is pretty shocking. I really thought this would be 6 by today. But I view this we get why they like Pittsburgh. No one's denying Pittsburgh is the much better team, and they are at home against a Cleveland team with an inconsistent quarterback. But my argument to them is just this number is way too big for this type of divisional matchup. And I don't know if you watched that AFC Hard Knocks. This is like the perfect division to do the Hard Knocks on. It just all of it was it's just so football. Like everything about it was so football. Just talking about how you kind of throw the records out and these teams and they're just so familiar with each other. So it's been a good year to back the dogs in this division. I think the pros that are looking at this one are saying, well, it's got to go the other way at some point. The favorites can't all not cover in this division this whole year. So pretty interesting game there. And the last one, a side I like the Bills. That we knew that was going to be heavy public side. It's interesting to hear how many pros like the Rams here. And talked to a couple guys I really respect. They went pretty heavy on the Rams at 4.5. The books that took that money moved it to 3.5. Now some other, Bills money's come back in. A couple of those books went back to 4. So really, really split week with a couple of these games, Chad. What some pros just are betting the numbers here, and other ones are just taking the value and they can on certain dogs.
All right, well, good. I'm glad because all these games are the ones that we want to touch on, and when we get, for me especially, when we get into Wednesdays and do a little more research, the Bills Rams game definitely stuck out. Chiefs Chargers definitely stuck out on second thoughts, especially deep into some research yesterday and then early this morning. One final order of business before we get into the games. Reminder, our latest free favorites podcast watch party is happening. Gotta RSVP, folks. Thursday, December 12th, 1 week from today, we're going to be at the Wicked Wolf in Center City, Philadelphia. We're going to do free drinks. We're going to do like a mini show. And so, it's not a show that we're going to be able to post. But Simon and I are basically going to do what we do on the favorites. We're going to do it live. You're going to enjoy it. You can, hoot and holler and, Pretend you're at a Sixers game if you want, or an Eagles game. Matt Mitchell's going to be there. Evan Abrams is going to be there. We have so much freaking swag to give away. Favorite swag, Tommy John swag. We love the Tommy John swag. It's going to be leading into the Thursday night football game between the Rams and the Niners. We're going to sweat together. We're going to bet together. We're going to have a good time. Please RSVP to the event. Check out the link in the podcast or YouTube episode description. Simon and I have been tweeting it out, blue skying it, threadsing it. Wherever you like to live on the socials, you'll find the link. We will share it. RSVPs are pouring in. Don't delay. Let's get rolling. Simon, I'm calling it right now. Miami, -6. We're in the foxhole. Clearly, we're in the foxhole. Taking the Dolphins as 6-point favorites over the Giants. I just don't get it. And this is the first time that the Jets have been underdogs since they played the Bills. I think it was week 6 in the middle of October. That included closing as favorites against Houston, Arizona, Pittsburgh. That game against Buffalo, the money was pouring in on the Jets. They had closed as only 1.5-point dogs against the Bills. I I don't get it. Like, it's a bad team with an old quarterback who's immobile, who now is going on, McAfee and saying, we don't have anything to prove, as if to say, I can't be held accountable for the losses. I'm not doing it for you guys. You're a professional bettor. What is wrong with your brethren?
Well, it is also model based, so it's the model is not taking account that, like you just said, everything is just so negative in that building right now, and it shows up in the games. Right, a lot of those games, even when they have a lead, they've been falling apart, and it's just not the Rodgers of old, like we talked about. He's incredibly inconsistent, and I think their view of it is just that this team every week is undervalued because of that in their model, and that you know, I'll be the first to admit it. I got burned by this team coming into the season. I overrated them simply because of the model. Like, I had a higher grade on them. And, it also screwed me with the 49ers because the 49ers just rolled them week 1. It made me in turn overrate the 49ers and think, well, this team and the Jets, they'll bounce back against these bad teams. And they kind of did. And it made me think, okay, this is who I thought they were going to be. And then they fell off a total cliff, right? I mean, they literally have 3 wins at this point, like you just said. So I think that's the issue, Chad, is that, the professionals have loved them all year. They've lost a ton of money, and they're kind of chasing that money, it seems like to me. That's my view of it, because I'm with you. I don't really understand the betting here and the market, but it's unfortunate the books haven't shifted. Like I said, 5.5 would have been amazing if they just would have gave us that number, but it seems like they're just going to hold you at this 6 right now with Miami. So I'm with you. I love this matchup for Miami. Tua at home in this matchup against a defense that has struggled against the pass, and they've struggled against the run. That's what Miami wants to do as well. They love to run the ball. That just opens up everything, obviously, downfield for the pass. And we've seen Miami now since Tua's been back just beat up on these bad teams and even good teams, right? They've held into some games like that. I wish I had taken more from that Bills game when Tua drove down the field. It was like that was a big moment for him on the road against that Bills team that I didn't give enough credit for. And I mean, we've seen they're just a different team than they were early in the year. So I'm loving this as a Fox. So I just like to be on this Jets in the spot. I mean, Miami.
Yeah, so since firing Robert Saleh, the Jets are 31st in points allowed per possession. They're last in EPA per play. Sauce Gardner might not play this weekend. Not like he tackles when he does play. That team is in such disarray. And look, we're talking about it so much, we just may get burned. But Tua in this spot, I mentioned this on Tuesday. Miami and Tua beat up on bad teams as favorites at home, 7-1. The Jets are a bad team, folks. There's just no two ways about it. So the big money will pour in on the Jets on Sunday. We've seen it every single Sunday for the reasons someone just said. You make a great point. We've talked about this a lot on the show. Like, rankings are hard to completely change in the middle of a season, right? It's going to happen it's like you titrate off of drugs, right? Like you can't just go from 50 milligrams to 0 milligrams. You got to go from 50 to 40 to 30 to 20 to 10. Like that's what happens with these rankings. And no one can go fast enough to catch up with how bad and sort of discombobulated the New York Jets are.
Well,
So,
the fear is you over adjust. Like, obviously, we talked about that when we took a beating back in the Panthers early in the year. But you're seeing why because of what this team can be when Bryce Young is what I thought he was going to be coming into the season, which is an open offense that had been a much better team. The biggest issue I've had, definitely personally this season, has just been the adjustments to these bad teams are really bad, right? There's just some really poor coaching right now in the NFL and not adjusting enough to injuries, right? This Carolina team, we should adjust more early in the year when they lost a lot of their defense. Like they had major injuries to their defense and I didn't adjust to it. So there are things like that, but like I said, you don't want to over adjust because we would have missed these last 3 weeks on this Panthers team, right? We would have totally been out on them if I had over adjusted their number and underrated the value. So the same thing is going here with this Jets team. I just think guys are stubborn, dug in on the exact number they have with this team.
well, you mentioned Carolina. Carolina's a 12.5 point dog at Philly. Like, it's an interesting week for us. I feel like there are a couple of games, and we're going to talk about the other one too. In years past, they are auto plays. Big number against a super hyped team, a team that
Yeah.
we've been loving all year. Carolina's 12.5 at Philly. And on Tuesday, we talked about it and we liked Philly. We liked Carolina, like, or at least we're leaning that way, but we didn't go all in. We didn't like immediately bet it. You didn't call it a Simon Says. The number had come down a little bit. There are some trends that sort of back fading the hot team here, but I can't get there. Like
No?
as much as we love how Bryce Young has improved, like this is not the Saints or the Bucks or even the Chiefs. Like with an underperforming secondary, an undermanned offense, and a terrible right tackle and left tackle. Like, name me a defense you'd like to face less than the Eagles right now. Jalen Carter and Milton Williams are Pro Football Focus's third and fourth highest rated defensive tackles rushing the passer. Zach Bond, the linebacker, he's the fifth highest rated player in coverage, not amongst linebackers, amongst all players. And he's a freaking linebacker. Like the Eagles are giving up 6.18 yards per pass attempt. And then the Panthers defense, while it's getting healthier, is really just terrible against the run.
Yeah.
Like, basically bottom three, and that's being generous. Like if you average every overall number, Saquon could get 2,000 yards for the season by the end of this game. He could have 500 yards. So I don't know. I think we want to bet the Panthers based on the number, but I feel like we're going to eat it.
That's fair. Like, just the off the field stuff, though, like the human side of it, where this is a game where they just played the Ravens, and now they're playing against a 3-9 Panthers team at home a week before they go and play a Pittsburgh team. Like, this is such an in between game where it's like
a trap spot.
It
Total
really
trap
is. It doesn't get more trapped than this. That's another really glaring spot where I like it. The reason I didn't really bang your head about this one is just because I wanted the 13, and I've been pissed off where like the professionals have kind of held it under the 13. Like the highest we're getting right now at most books is 12.5, where it's like, no one's like you just said, no one's taking Carolina. You think everyone in the world doesn't feel the same as you. The only people I know that are obviously professionals taking this Carolina spot. And it's such a spot to take them because of the in-between and the fact that this offense, like you just said, okay, they're not the best team, obviously, defensively, but we've seen a change offensively with the passing game. And, as much as I say how great this Eagles defense is, they're young. I mean, they've had a couple injuries as well to this defense as well. Reed Blankenship, Brandon Graham, and a young defense that's feeling themselves right now, where there were guys open. I don't want to say Lamar lost that game last week, but he did miss open receivers. And their kicker, if he had made those kicks, it's a much different game right towards the end there. Like the Eagles, they were up 14-12, and then Justin Tucker missed that field goal. Then when they should have been up 15-12, and then because he missed it, bang, Eagles were down in the red zone. Saquon ran it in, and it's like, okay, totally different game now, right? It was 21-12 at that point. So I do think this Eagles team is just a little overrated right now, where it's like, yes, are they very good? Should they be said to be the best team in the NFC right now? Yeah, because they're healthy, right? Detroit's had so many injuries. I get the respect to them. I just think it's gone too far at this point. That's the whole point for me with this one, where it's like the number should be closer to 10. It's a nice in between spot where you expect them not to overlook this Panthers team, but how can they not, right? It's the human element of it, where it's like you just took down the big bad wolf of the Ravens, like a team that Lamar had only in his whole career only lost one time to an NFC team, and you smacked them. You're feeling good all week. You're home now against the Panthers. You're not going to look ahead to Pittsburgh, where you know that's literally the last tough game on their. I mean, Washington's tough, obviously, but that really is going to decide their one seed, because Detroit here, if they drop this to Green Bay and then they got Buffalo next week, really quickly the Eagles could become this one seed. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot to weigh on this young team of this Philadelphia. So for all that, Chad, that's the only reason I'm like, okay, maybe I'll convince you come Sunday to take this Panthers team, but it's about the number. It's like if I'm not getting a great number here, okay, we don't have to put it in, but if this is up to 13.5 contest Sunday, Chad, I'm gonna probably be an asshole and be like, we gotta put this in, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But
By the way, I feel like the 13 was the line of demarcation for me, and I'm trying to be really disciplined as we head into the end of the
that's
year
fair.
and not chase feelings and put them into numbers,
Right.
right? We missed the best in number. 13 feels better to me.
And we
If we
talked about this,
get
so the number has not burned us this year. Well, the only
No,
numbers
I
that have
know,
burned us
but
are 3 and 2s.
look,
It's been a really weird year where these big numbers have not mattered.
old habits die hard. And if there's CLV
I'm just adjusting
available,
for this season. I agree with you,
yeah.
but for this season, it's just been 2s and 3s that have really mattered. Everything else, not so much.
Look, it's funny you say that. Like you can look in the Action app and there's a really cool feature that tells you your sort of performance against the closing line value and your ROI against the closing line value. And like it comes into play so infrequently, but you still want it. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to buy high and sell low. You want to get the best of the number. You want to feel better on Sunday morning. I want to see in the app that I've got it at 13.5 and now it's at 12.5 and all those kinds of things.
I told you, stupid gambling is that. When you lose a bet, you go, well, at least I had the best of the number. That's the main part of it.
Yeah. By the way, I've never said that in my life.
Yeah, right.
When I lose a game, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Why did I even care about this number? Why did I like race to bet this to beat the move when it didn't even matter?
Yeah, it's true.
I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I feel skittish about, I think this Eagles team, and I felt this way last week. I think it's on an upward trajectory. I think the way they're playing minimizes their weaknesses, which is really Jalen Hurts as a passer. I
How
think
dare you?
I think their defensive line is so good that minimizes the emotional up and down. Because when you're playing physical, you're playing physical, right? That's not about what happens on the edge. And I think skill players to me are more inclined to be prone to emotional roller coaster mistakes than players of the defensive line. And their defensive line is just so good. So that's my fear. But look, we'll talk about it on Sunday. We'll see where we land. Atlanta at Minnesota. This was my exact decision. I did it with clarity and confidence, if I recall. And as you know, as you've said, the wise guys are with me. It's moved up since the show. In fact, the show was happening, it moved from 5 to 5.5. It is a pros Joe split. Tickets on Minnesota or on the Falcons, money on Minnesota. I guess, as you noted, the public is buying into the very lazy, facile Kirk Cousins revenge narrative. We disagree.
Yeah, we know they would though. It's the lowest of hanging fruit, and that's the easiest fruit to grab. So,
Yeah.
yeah, this one's shocking to me because I really didn't think it would get back to 6, especially where you were able to get 4.5 when you were talking about on Tuesday. Like that's a great number now, especially now that it is touching 6 at a lot of books. And you know, for me, this matchup, it's really all about, like we just said, the defense here. Where I do have faith now in this Vikings offense as Sam Darnold's got more comfortable, but this defense, I just can't get it out of my head. Where it's like, isn't this the perfect matchup for them against Kirk, a guy they know, and their style is what gives him fits? It just feels like that's the fear, is it feels too easy, Chad, because it's like
Yeah.
5.5 still at a lot of books. it feels like a gift, like we always talk about, where it's like it's still below this key number of 6. You know, them rolling them, blowing them out, or this coming down to they're up 14 and Kirk gets the late touchdown and they get the 2-pointer and it lands right on 6. That sounds about right. So that's why I think the number should be 6. It's like that's where this game's gonna go. So yeah, if you took, like, I threw a little in Atlanta. I mean, there was one book that had the 6 last Sunday when we talked about it. Obviously, my bets have dwarfed that for this Minnesota side. If you were stubborn, you do like Atlanta, I would just wait. Like, every pro I talked to is coming in on this Viking side for the most part. So it's like, if they're going to keep taking respected money, they'll keep bumping it up. And, the public, they'll come in on their teasers, right? This is like this in Miami. It's going to be a big tease team. They're both at 6. Everyone's going to take it down to a pick. That's just what people like to do on their teasers. So this could easily keep going up. So if you're like me and Chad, you like Minnesota, grab the 5.5 while you still can if you haven't already.
Yeah, the things that Kirk Cousins struggles against the most, pressure in the pocket, are what the Vikings excel at, right? He's facing a defense that is 4th in sacks, 3rd in QB pressures, 2nd in blitz rate. Also the top ranked defense for rushing efficiency, defending rushes inside the tackles, number 2 outside the tackles. The most effective weapon the Falcons actually have right now isn't Kirk Cousins, isn't Drake London, definitely isn't Kyle Pitts. It's Bijan Robinson playing like a Pro Bowler. But that also plays to the Viking strengths. And I think that the wise guys see what we see about Kirk is how terrible he was against the Chargers when they really weren't getting any pressure. And that unless he's playing the Bucks, he's kind of having a terrible year. And so this is I am a little bit worried. It's funny, I said I'm trying to be more disciplined. I'm also trying to be more disciplined with the bankroll. And I got this at 5, but I didn't put, no, I got it at 5.5. I didn't put a ton on it because I was kind of hoping it would come down to 5. And now I got to make a decision. Do I just increase the amount of money I'm putting on it at 5.5, which I'm going to because I wanted to get a little bit better number? I'm not going to get it. I'm going to have to live with the 5.5.
Yeah, and with Kirk, I'll just say, whatever's going along, he has been awful these last 3 weeks, even after coming out of that bye week.
Yeah.
I mean, he,
No touchdowns,
no touchdowns, 6 picks,
6 picks, tons of sacks.
It's just been a disaster. And you think it's only the people in media saying Michael Penix's name. Like, there's obviously gonna be whispers in that locker room that someone they see every day in practice that apparently has looked pretty good all year in practice and even coming to the year. Remember, they sat him
Yeah,
where
yeah,
it
yeah.
was the second week of August because there was obviously a fear even then with Kirk coming back from this injury. And it's just different. Like, he just does not have the step. He doesn't step into the throw, the same zip on the ball with everything that goes into it. So, yeah, Chad, this is one I can guarantee people is going to be in our contest, especially at 5.5.
Well, look, if you're also watching Caleb Williams the last 3 games, really developing, if you've seen Jaden Daniels playing well, if you've seen Drake May balling, if you've seen Bo Nix playing like a pro, like truly developing, you're going to be like, if the rookie quarterbacks are this developed and Michael Penix is on that plane, we want to know, we want to see it, we want to take advantage of it. And by the way, the next offensive coordinator, head coach, or quarterback who can figure out how to use Kyle Pitts might go into the Hall of Fame because he's now going through multiple levels of coaches, quarterbacks, and coordinators who cannot figure out how to get him involved in the offense. So,
do you think we ever see any teams ever, after Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins coming back from their Achilles, ever give money to a quarterback after the age of, 35, 36 with a coming off an Achilles?
of course we will. We 100% will because everyone believes they can be the one to turn it around. Everyone's got a God complex. Everyone is hoping. Everyone is looking for the handrail on the roller coaster. Of course, we're going to do it. There's not a question in my mind. Past glory will always remain. Chicago, San Francisco. It's interesting you say the Bears are 4-point dogs here, and it's a better number than we got on Tuesday. So the wise guy money has come in on the Niners.
Yeah.
We actually asked on Tuesday, is the value on the Niners? And and you said that it's feeling very public. The Bears and the Seahawks are shaping up to be the biggest public dogs of the week. If you're looking at the splits, 73% of the tickets on the Bears, 60% of the money on the Niners. Like, I think the Niners are in real trouble physically, and I still think I like the Bears.
Yeah, I'm letting you kind of drive this boat here. Where I was just happy to sit this one out because it's like I want to be with you on the Bears, but when I'm talking to every guy who's you're saying exactly what I said, which is in my lifetime, this is a spot I hammer this 49ers team. Like this is always a spot I take this team, especially at this number. But my pause is what we talked about. The 49ers have so much bullshit going on off the field outside their injuries. You know, the turmoil, the drama right now. I mean, their media following along and seeing everything going on, the conversations being had, even Kyle Shanahan's demeanor. It's like this is the team that went to the Super Bowl last year. They just feel like everything's totally different this year. Confidence is totally gone by Shanahan and Purdy. The biggest one to me is what me and you talked about, with just this Bears team. It feels like they really fucking hated Eberflus. Like he's gone. Like the ding dong, the witch is dead. It seems like that to me is the biggest thing. Where it's like, are we reading too much into it, betting too much on a team that we expect will come out here and play hard together as a unit and play for something where I still don't know what the 49ers are playing for. People are like, well, they're playing for a playoff spot. They've been playing for that all season. Like, I hate that where it's like, I don't think they have it in them. Like, they just don't seem like they have a dog in the fight. But yeah, obviously we expect this is their last ditch effort. This is going to be their everything game. I get why the professionals are coming on the 49er side, but I just can't get out of what we talked about, how much it seemed like that Bears team hated their head coach. He's gone. We've seen it before in these exact spots where teams just play hard for their interim coach. And I just don't think the Bears are that bad. Like, I
No,
feel like
they're no.
no, like they really aren't. Like they have talent on both sides of the ball, and we've kind of seen that play out this year where, you know, they have covered in what 3-4 straight weeks and crazy backdoor, you could say fluky covers, but it's what we talked about. Caleb Williams, he's a guy that never gives up, could push the ball downfield, and you've seen that now after the Minnesota game where he came back, and that game against Green Bay where he came back, and that game against Detroit. At the end of the day, those games they probably should have won. Maybe it came down to the coaching. They've just been playing so much better these last couple of weeks since 49ers team. So not going to let them bully us, Chad. I'll stick with you. I'll grab the +4 with Chicago.
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, if we're talking about, we always like playing teams when they're dogs and they have a new coach. And that we've seen that win consistently. We saw it happen again this year with New Orleans, right? And New Orleans has less talent than the Bears. I think there's a lightness in that locker room and relief for that team and joy. They'll just play with, you know, unabandoned joy, knowing that they don't have to worry about Eberflus fucking it up at the end of the game.
More
They
than that,
fuck
they
it
probably
up.
want to show that he was the problem, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Also,
Like they blame
exactly.
him for that Hail Mary and think how long ago that was.
Will they hold? They've been snatching losses from the jaws of victory for a month in the
That's
most
crazy.
awkward, inane way. So the Bills will be on the list. I mean, what's scary right now, Simon, is we've got on our list two, you know, mid-sized favorites in Minnesota and Miami. So we're playing with fire a little bit here, especially since one of the other games we liked the other day, Buffalo was a 4-point favorite at the Rams. I got to tell you, when we talked about it on Tuesday, I felt pretty confident. By the time I closed my computer yesterday, much less confident. The line had moved in the Rams' direction. All of a sudden, I was just feeling like, are we at the peak of the Bills market? I know we like them to win in these spots and that they do tend to cover in these spots, but they just came off a stretch where they had like statement wins against the teams they have to beat in the Niners and the Chiefs. And the Rams are in a knife fight to win their division and still think they can do it. The move is on the Rams right now. And you even said it in sort of sharp calls.
Yeah, I was shocked to talk to a lot of the guys. Like even yesterday, I'm in the book and talking to a couple guys who I really respect, and they're both like, "This is our favorite bets of the week is Rams." And all I could say was like, "I've been there this season, where I love the Rams in this exact spot too, and it's just been burning me." So they could be right. Like you could be right as well, where it's like, isn't this the spot to sell this Bills team, especially, you know, huge win last week, and then they're heading to Detroit after this game. Like
Yeah.
this is the brutal stretch here, but I can't get out of my mind, Chad, just that this is Josh Allen's world and we're living in it right now. And he's kind of broken a lot of the rules this season. And he was someone where, you know, I'll be the first to admit it. I thought we had a pattern growing with him where he was just going to be the team that beats up on bad teams and then struggles against the playoff teams. But that Chiefs game really changed my mind with that, where like, you know, no one beats Mahomes by more than 7 points. Like they really beat the hell out of that Chiefs team. And even if you want to say the Chiefs team's not that good, this is a Bills team that lost 20-23 to that Houston team, right? They were down 20-3 at one point in that game. And the week before that, they got demolished by that Ravens team, 35-10. So it was like we had reasons to question this Bills team. Since then, I mean, like you just talked about, they've been one of the best teams in all of football. I mean, their only close game really was that Miami game, right? They won what was it, 30-27, something like that, where it was like Tua had the Miami
Yeah.
in that game. So, okay, maybe they still aren't the best team against playoff teams. This Rams team is not a playoff team. I mean, we can both agree with that. They're just lucky to be at 6-6 right now. And yeah, okay, you don't want to put this one in because it does feel a little trappy. How am I not going to agree with you? My whole life I'm always on this other side with this Rams team. I do just think it's just Josh Allen's different. I'm confident in him, believe in him. Love the matchup for the run game though. That's the biggest thing for me is this Rams team. We've seen it now. You know, if Taysom Hill didn't go out of that game, I don't know if they're going to come back against that Saints
Yeah.
team. Like it feels like the Saints are kind of finding a groove there, moving the ball. Same with this Bills team. It's like, how did the Bills not just run for 150 against this Rams defense that literally cannot stop the run? Like they have no guys up front that can plug gaps and really stop stuff. So, all right, Chad, if you don't want to put it in, I totally get it because it is not a spot we usually take. But all right. Give me 3.5. Let the professionals bet it. I'll be the sucker. I'll be like the Joe Public here, and I'll take the 3 and watch it land right on 3 and me lose my 3.5. But I can't help myself here. I just love this Bills team and how they're playing right now.
Well, look, we can keep it on the list. It's not like we have 15 games
I
that we're
get you're
going to
coming from.
choose.
You're like, am I really gonna make Chat put 4 favorites in?
Well, look, here's the
I get
thing.
it. I get it.
And not just that, we're the next game we're going to talk about, which is our big balls, so we know it's going to go in. Will be the third game in a row
I know.
that is going completely against what we
I
would
know.
normally do.
I know.
So let's talk about these as a package instead of sort of trying to talk about them individually. But it is time to talk about our big balls bet of the week, presented by Tommy John. If you've got the balls, Tommy John has the support great games. Start with great underwear. Tommy John makes the greatest. Okay. LA Chargers, 4-point dogs at Kansas City. Simon, this is a game that is testing us. It's testing our faith. It's testing our fidelity. It's testing our biases. Because at first glance, we should love the Chargers. Love them. Physical team, a good coach, an elite quarterback who doesn't make mistakes. Since Justin Herbert got healthy, they have been running more play action, which is getting him many more windows to throw downfield. Against the blitz, his QBR has improved from 63 to 86. But then on Tuesday, like during the show, again in a conversation you and I had, like before the air, before we came on the air, we couldn't get there. And like for me, and we talked about it on Tuesday, it's really about the injuries. This team could not move the ball on the ground after J.K. Dobbins went out against the Ravens a couple weeks ago. Uh, and they weren't any better against the Falcons, like gaining only 56 yards rushing. Lad McConkey is the only receiver who's been doing anything. He's been banged up, limited in practice. has had shoulder issues all season. Now he's got a knee injury that's newly diagnosed. We got to go with the Chiefs.
Yeah, and it really is the thing we talk about this Chargers team was really me and you having a little bit of like we always back the Chargers at this number. Even earlier
Yeah.
this year, we took the 7.5 where
And always fade the Chiefs at this number.
right. And it's because it's been good to us, right? You going back, I'm in the action app right now. You look back in 22, they had two matchups. Both times the Chiefs were favorites greater than 3.5. Both times Herbert backdoored that covered. Like he covered it both times. And that was obviously really good to us. Now last year, you kind of can throw it out, right? The Chargers had a bunch of injuries. And then the final game of the year, I think it was the backup playing for the Chiefs and same for the Chargers. So obviously, don't have much go off that. But this year we've seen it now where this Chiefs team, Chad, to me, they looked burned out. I don't know about you, but I felt like they were burned out. And I read a really interesting article the other day about Andy Reid giving them a little mini bye week, right? They had the Friday game, and they gave them off the weekend. Had a couple guys come in Monday, obviously, but like overall, it seemed like it was a nice thing to let that team get away from it because they just looked, beat. Like that defense getting rolled, it's just not something we're used to with Spags. And like you talked about, the big thing to me of this Chargers team is that loss of J.K. Dobbins. They had
Yeah.
no run game, and I feel like they had no, like, I don't know, not that they've been lucky this year, but they've been a team that this year have just been able to run the ball. And like you say, after they can run it, Justin Herbert gets the open, easier reads because of the play action pass. And when you take that away, it just looks so complicated and just awful. And he looked uncomfortable. And again, this is against a Atlanta team that's not that great at
No.
anything defensively. Where this Chiefs team we've seen, as bad they looked, before that, before they started playing bad these last couple of weeks, this is a defense that is really tough to run on and has a pretty good secondary overall. So, this really is about playing this matchup and try not to overthink it, where it's like, okay, is this the lowest we can buy right now in the Chiefs this season? It kind of feels like it would have been great if this number had got to 3. Thought the professionals would come in on the Chargers, but I told you it's the other way. Most pros I've talked to at this point have come in on this Chiefs team. I get their viewpoint. I get where they're coming from, and I feel like in agreement with them that, okay, the number moved too much. If this isn't 3.5 in contest, Chad, and you didn't want to put in it because it's not 3.5, I get it. Because it's 4.5, it's obviously not ideal, but I feel like at 3.5, we might have to put this one in. Another favorite. I know it's crazy, but it's really all about buying in these spots and these teams that I feel like the public is underrating a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think if you look at the Chiefs injury report for the week, which I did this morning, there's 3 guys on it. All 3 of them were full participants in practice yesterday. Isaiah Pacheco's not even on it. He came back. And expectation, Andy Reid is teasing that DJ Humphrey is going to be starting at tackle, left tackle for the Chiefs. And their biggest issue, and we could see it in the game the other day, even on the touchdown pass that Patrick Mahomes threw in the second quarter, that sort of awkward pass where he got hit and bent over, like he was yelling at the offensive line about protecting him on a touchdown pass and yelling at Andy Reid to get some of these guys to get that right tackle out of the game. So, and Jawan Taylor constantly getting the same penalty over and over and over again. So I think they're between the rest, between DJ Humphrey playing, Andy Reid has been teasing it, the injuries dissipating. I think it's the exact right spot. So I'm excited that we kind of agreed on it. When we were slacking this morning, I'm like, is he telling me he doesn't like the Chiefs? Because now I'm in love with the Chiefs. So I'm glad we could find a mind meld
Which
on
made no
that.
sense. I offered up the Chiefs and the Panthers, and you were like, do you like the Chiefs here? And it goes, yeah, why would I say them? I didn't know what the hell you're even talking about.
Well, I just got confused because I'm like, I don't know. Listen, dude, I'm on like
I get it.
3
Private
hours.
jet life, Chad. I get it.
I'm on 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah, you're the man.
I'm trying to do the job. I'm trying to do it well, but I got to live my life. Okay. Listen, I can't be getting up, taking care of kids, and doing this job while I'm out jetting around. Simon, we can hear the bells. We can smell the gingerbread. The holiday season is upon us. And with over 20 million pairs sold and thousands of 5-star reviews, let's make the gift of Tommy John our newest holiday tradition. It always feels good to give a thoughtful gift, but it feels great to give Tommy John. You'll feel the warm glow of upgrading someone's life, and with breathable comfort, they'll feel those special kringle tingles all year long. Simon, why will you be giving the gift of Tommy John this season?
Oh, we love Tommy John chat. I'm giving it because it's the gift that lasts.
Shop TommyJohn.com/favorites right now for the holidays and get 30% off site wide. Save 30% off TommyJohn.com/favorites. TommyJohn.com/favorites. I got to think that we're responsible for at least half of those 20 million pairs sold. The last game I want to talk about before we dig into some round robins and get to Evan is Cleveland and Pittsburgh. So this
Yes.
was Simon Says. Uh, very much a sell high on Pittsburgh, right? We would do that even if the other divisional and Tomlin factors didn't exist. But teams in the Steelers' current position, like the Eagles, who are covering by 5 points per game, just 44% against the spread, against teams with winning percentages of 60% or less, which is what the Browns have. And then there are Tomlin spots as a favorite, in a variety of categories, all of which have him covering less than 45%. We don't want to back Jameis after he wins. We do want to back Jameis after he loses. Anything change for you here?
No, and even if Jameis had won last week and this was still the number, I still think I'd be able to talk myself into it just because how can you make a number this big in this division? It's so rare in the AFC North to blow teams out. Like you really have to be a really good team playing against a team that simply gives up midway through the game. Like, could that happen here with Cleveland, Chat? Could we get caught? Sure, right? That's always a possibility. But it feels like James has brought something to this team that they were lacking. And you've seen it in the playing, right? The offense looks so much more open and fast. And they just need the defense to catch up to them. We know the defense has not been good this year. And we talked coming into the year that defense from year to year does not translate. And Jim Schwartz, I mean, we have history now, data to back it up. His splits from year to year are incredible. Like he either has a top 2, top 3 defense or a bottom 10, bottom 5 defense. Even last week, I was shocked when they talked about they only had 2 interceptions or 2 takeaways on defense all year before Bo Nix kind of threw a couple up. So this is a Browns team that I understand why no one's betting them right. I think in the Action app right now, all the money, all the tickets right now are on Pittsburgh. I expect them to be the biggest public side. No one's going to believe that Cleveland's going to beat this team twice. That's how this division is, though. Pittsburgh could easily win this division and sweep the Ravens, Cincinnati, and then somehow get swept by Cleveland, who maybe only has 4 or 5 wins coming into the season. Like that happens all the time in this division. It's just a very weird, wonky way that it plays out. So I can't help it. Like I love this number, 6.5. Like I said, there's still a book in Jersey here that has a 7, which is incredible. So this is another number that I think professional money will come in. I think it'll be driven down. I could easily see this being 6. Being one of the bigger sides, one of the bigger parlays. And I can't wait to put something on money line or Robin. I just love this for an upset for this Cleveland team, especially like we just talked about, like this Pittsburgh team, not that we're trying to sell high on them, but it's just like I talked about it last week. How many of these 50-50 balls is Russell going to keep getting away with? It's been incredible. They just keep all connecting. It's going to catch up to them. It's just a matter of the variance. So, yeah, Chad, I love the Browns, as you can tell.
Look, AFC North, Hatfields, McCoys, Montagues, and Capulets. Like it's going to be close. We're on the Browns. I feel better because at least now we know we're going to have a couple of underdogs, potentially in
Yeah, my
our.
5 I had written down before it came on. Obviously, I get where you're coming from. The Panthers was Cleveland and the Panthers, and then the 3 favorites we like. I like Miami, Vikings, and the Chiefs. So if people don't be shocked if that's our 5. If Chad somehow knocks me out and I wake up and Chicago's in there or the Seahawks are in there, also wouldn't be shocked either because I get what you're saying. Those are the more public sides, but obviously I like those numbers.
Yeah, I think we're exactly aligned. Um, I had Minnesota, I had Miami, I had Kansas City, I had Cleveland, and my next in was between actually the Rams, the Panthers, and the Bears. So we'll hash it out. We'll see what happens, and we'll do something today, and it could change on Sunday as it did last week, and you know, and it might not even matter because we'll end up in the same spot because That's what karma is. Simon, can you name the best ticketing app in the United States?
Game time.
That's right. It's our beloved sponsor, Game Time. As Simon and I and all of our listeners know, I love going to live games, NFL, NBA, college football, college basketball. I just got back from the Duke game last night, as you've heard. In fact, when I did my 3-game, 3-night sportacular with my son last month, I used Game Time to buy tickets for all 3 games. I don't listen. I'm like everybody. I go into Game Time, I buy my freaking tickets just because they sponsor the show. I go in and I use the product. It is my favorite way to buy tickets. They've got amazing last minute deals on games and concerts, and their new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Speaking of which, I'm going to open the Game Time app right now from my house here in Connecticut. I see the super deals for UConn men's basketball next week. I'm getting tickets. I'm getting tickets to see the 2-time national champs for like less than $45. My favorite part about Game Time, their all-in pricing shows me the total cost upfront, no surprises, no matter where you live. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code favorites for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code favorites for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
Good work. Yep. I'm still muted. Still muted.
Sorry about that. Started to lose it at the end because it's so dry in my house. All right, we got to give out our 2-team money line underdog parlay. Bet365 is going to boost the odds, highlighted on their site all weekend under both game pages. And remember, both games are eligible for Bet365's early payout promo, where your money line pick gets marked as a win if they take a 17-point lead, even if they lose. So if you want to bet this, bet it at Bet365. The boosted parlay is Bears and Seahawks. Find the boost under either the Bears or Seahawks game pages on Bet365. Simon, our money line underdog round robin. Do you want to say it so I can
Yeah.
get a
Yeah.
drink of
Yeah.
water?
And I just want to say, we unfortunately we don't do the Thursdays for our Bet365 Moneyline Parlay because we want as many people obviously to get in on it. My view of it, if you want to do a parlay with like Green Bay and Cleveland or something like that, I also love that Moneyline Parlay. I know we don't get the boosted odds, but I think Chad's in agreement with me. I do think Green Bay is a live dog tonight to pull the offset up. Our moneyline round robin, Chad, we went with Seattle, Chicago, Cleveland. Chad got the LA Rams in there. You sicko. And the sickest one of all, can't quit it, going the Giants to finish it off.
Here's my thing. I think I'm on the right side here. I know you don't agree with me, but the money has come in on the Giants.
I know. I'm just scared. The Dexter Lawrence thing scares the shit out of me.
Well, look, I'm a believer. I think the Saints shouldn't be 5 points favorites against anybody.
Yeah, I agree.
The wise guys agree with me. They've moved the number down from 5 to 4.5. So I'm putting them in there because you got to believe in the New York pretending to play football Giants. Hashtag hap tip. Thank you, Chris Raybon.
And I just want to say, but when people understand what I'm working with here, I'm looking at our text chain exactly. This Chad didn't understand if I like the Chiefs. My text was Panthers or Chiefs for big balls. How could I be more clear? You're a crazy person. Because I was maybe I worded it weird. Now I'm looking at it, I'm like, how did he not? How could I?
Did you put a question mark? Was there a question mark?
Yeah.
At all?
You're hilarious.
You know what? That's so funny. Oh, you said you did. Panthers or Chiefs for big balls? Question mark. I don't know why I interpreted that as you thinking, you know what it was? Because you were so on the Chargers on Tuesday, and
True.
I was too, and now I'm on the Chiefs. I'm like, did we come to a mind meld? So I was just that's really what it was, and I was so excited. Simon, what are your biggest bets right now?
Uh, Minnesota, Miami right now jump off the top. If you could get the +7 with Cleveland with me, like I just been hammering that. As soon as we get done this call, I'm literally going to PA with my aunt from England. We're making a quick stop at a sports book, giving her the whole experience when I'm carrying on a book bag full of cash, and I'm hitting that last book that still has a 7 over in PA. So, yeah, heavy right now. Cleveland, Minnesota, Miami.
Listen, the family that bets together stays together. I want you to give your aunt a very hearty English hello. Hello, auntie. Scooch Roulette. Who is your Scooch Roulette pick this week?
Did you not win last week?
I had Denver, and I think
Yes, you go first.
but I think you had Green Bay.
Yeah, but you're coming off. You had won the week
Oh,
before.
all
I'm
right.
just trying to keep it fair.
I appreciate that. I'm going Cleveland.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, I knew it. As soon as I
All
said
right,
it,
well, let's flip it then. I'll go. I'll take your Vikings. I'll go 5.5 Vikings.
and so I was trying to figure out what exactly is he going to say when I say I'm going with Cleveland. I thought you'd say like you motherfucker. Listen, before we get out of here, we got to bring in director of research,
Gotta.
Evan Abrams, for the final word. You better make us feel good, Evan.
We're going to start off talking about Mr. Enigma. That's what we're going to start off talking about. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know. If you've seen the Netflix documentary. But the thing that's very funny about it is he had said this week that he is reinventing, redoing his home in New Jersey. So it sounds like he's very comfortable at home. And of course, I'm talking about Aaron Rodgers. And he's not comfortable on the road. And that's actually showed up in his stats this year. So at home, his passer rating, 20 points higher than the road. His completion percentage, 7 points higher home versus road. He has 10 more 20-plus yard plays at home than he does on the road. On the road this year, Rodgers' completion percentage over expected is the worst of any quarterback in the NFL. Any quarterback. Whole league. In Rodgers' 3 total covers this year, opponents have only scored 33 total combined points in those games. So if Miami can put points on the board, I'm not exactly sure how the Jets are going to stay there. Now, I'll give you this as well. So Sunday night, Miami was -7. Of course, now it's down to 5.5. Here we go again. Every single week, the Jets are getting action. Only 2 games have seen action on the board as of this morning. The Jets and the Rams. Bills are down to 3.5. Jets are getting money again. I don't know what to do, but
This is ridiculous.
It seems like we're just going through the same thing. And I got one more for you, and this is right up your alley. You're going to love it because I knew what you guys were going to take today. We looked back at the Tuesday rundown. I was like, this one's a hammer. Trivia time. Guess the quarterback with the most turnover-worthy throws this season. Any guesses?
Kirk Cousins.
Nailed it. Cousins with
No
18.
way. I got it right?
2 more than any other quarterback. The next closest would be Geno Smith. Now, he doesn't just have bad throws. He's also really crappy with pressure, too. Cousins has faced 4 teams with a 4+% sack percentage. Now, that is opponent percentage of plays that ends in a sack. Very simple. In those games, 0-4 against the spread this year, the worst of his entire career. So, off the surgery, off the injury, with the offensive line, just not dealing well with pressure, and he's throwing the ball to the other team. I don't know what to say other than, he's facing Minnesota, which, not only the best defense in the league, but also a team with best blitz percentage, like second most pressures. Should be a fun day.
I don't know how we got to this place that we love 6 to 5.5 to 6.5 point favorites, but here we are. We're betting what we see, which is fading Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers and aged quarterbacks who come off Achilles injuries. Thank you, Evan. As a reminder, the Favorites Podcast is presented by Bet365. And now new Bet365 customers get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Sign up using promo code favorites, deposit $10, place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. Those bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, restrictions apply. Simon and I will return with our next episode of The Favorites on the Action Network YouTube page Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern to recap NFL Week 14. Download us from Spotify, Apple Pods, wherever you get your pods. Rate, review, subscribe. Leave us 5 stars. Say whatever you want. Feedback is the gift. Until next time, love you.